Perth property market is absolutely booming, as well as the whole of Australia. Some houses and suburbs have even gone up to 100% profit or doubled in pricing. If we're looking at equity and capital, we can see that over in 2025, the median house price for Perth has surpassed the $1 million. The whole of Australia is going through a current housing boom. I myself, with my current properties, have also experienced a 100% price increase from the house I've bought over the last 3 years. So what we're going to do today is dive into a few suburbs just to understand the market a little bit better. We're going to go through and I'm going to show you entry points, medium points, and then high points for 3 different price ranges. So we're going to start at about 600 to 700,000 and then move up to the 1 millions and above. So some statistics first before we jump into what we've got in the research. More than 50 suburbs have doubled in price in the last 5 years. That is wild. There is a lot of suburbs in Perth, but it's still wild to think that it's doubled in 5 years, right? Where else do you get returns like that in the current condition of, the markets and stuff? So this is why real estate attracts a lot of people in the investor route. Entry-level suburbs are still around the 540 to 600k. Now, to put that in perspective, post-COVID, a lot of the house prices were sitting around $400,000, and now we're up 540 to 600,000. So, entry point to the market was very achievable post-COVID, but now we are getting to the stage where it's a single income just can't enter the market. Mid-ring is about the 650 to 850. I still believe it's around the 850 mark. And then the lifestyle inner suburbs are very, very often $1 million and plus. Same as how it was with Sydney. We all know the story of Sydney and Melbourne. That has been increasing over the years for many, many years. And now we all know, just to get into the heart of these capital cities, we're looking at the 2 mil plus mark. So the price ladder is a lot steeper than data suggests. And obviously data is always a delay between year and year, and it's harder to get that. So we just need to keep that in mind, that it's growing so fast that 2025 data or 2024 data may not show the whole picture of the market. So realistically, what does a certain amount buy in Perth? We're going to look at 3 of these prices: 550 to 650, 700 to 850, and then the mil plus. And I'll give you an example. We're going to go through 3 of these examples in here. So typical entry price, this is where we usually start for investors. We want to make sure that it's achievable to actually enter the market. It's not a huge burden financially. And also there's some capital appreciation, so we can actually profit whether we sell it, whether we withdraw the equity, so we can actually continue the portfolio and buy more. These suburbs look like Medina. Armidale was one of those suburbs that I mentioned you could get into at about 300,000 a few years ago. Now we're at about 570. Midland and Maddington. What do these buy? 3x1s, 3x2s, and other suburbs. So let's jump into some of them. We're going to go into Medina just as an example. So Medina is it's a good entry suburb. However, the location isn't super ideal, but finding the right ones and where it is, you can actually it's a good entry because you can actually make a lot of capital appreciation. So there's a lot of people still saying that you can't make money in the current market, which is not true. You just need to find the right houses. Buyers agents help a lot. So if you need help with that, let us know. And these off-market properties are achievable to get. However, we're just using the realestate.com today and REWA as I normally do with the videos, just so we have access to the same as what you have. So Medina sits in this little cove here. It is surrounded by a rubbish tip, which people get put off. But for example, in Kinross, let's scroll up here. There's not a huge smell around these suburbs. Medina is the same. So Kinross sits in this little pocket right here, and the rubbish tip is in here. Kinross is a hugely in-demand suburb. There's hardly ever any houses in there, and houses are topping out 1.8 to 1.1, $1.2 million for the higher end. So the facilities at the moment in the current market doesn't really matter for emerging suburbs. When we obviously get to the higher price points, they will start having a larger effect. We are near the beach, the ocean over here. We are near commercial, so super not ideal in that sense. And then we'll also have a lot of commercial and sort of planting facilities, we'll call them, so over this side here. So not super ideal. However, in terms of the portfolio, what we're trying to do, capital appreciation, it is a fantastic location. So I scrolled through, found a property, one of the first ones we found in Medina. We can see these are older houses. They are usually worn down a bit, which is perfect. This is on Armadale, actually. So we can see in here, usually the older style houses, we have the slats, we have the floating wood floorboards, and usually these are decade-old houses. So we can see the kitchen is relatively new, would need to do a lot of renovations to it. But in terms of the pricing point, we can see we're sitting at comfortable $499,000, which is very achievable, and it's very good in today's market, considering, remembering the medium house price is this 1.1 million. This one's under offer, but we can see rental appraisal, it's not too good. It's, sitting at around what it would cost to rent. So you'd be negatively geared with this property. Everything else is all fine with the council rates and everything. Now, this is a $499. When we go and do an actual back-end appraisal on this property, so 35 here, we can see we're valuing at around the 570, just a very brief valuation. Obviously, there'd need to be some sort of renovations to bring it up to suburb standards, but we're about a 570. Rental doesn't really matter, 517. This is for capital appreciation, so we want to actually get in, do some renovations, fix it up a little bit, take out the cash, and then move on to the next property portfolio. That would be the whole point of this investing property. So we can see it's at about 570. So we're looking at $70,000 profit in there just for that price. This one in here, this one sold for just over this 570 mark. So we can see as renovations, there is suburb proof that once the renovations are in, we can actually get some form of appreciation in this. Now, obviously, we're looking at this, we're going 70 grand for the renovations. It will be more than the 570. Usually this skews a little bit in here. And obviously we will also negotiate it down. Ideally, you'll probably try to get it to about the 470, 465 mark, because there won't be a huge amount of people applying for A, this suburb, and B, the work that needs to be done on this property. So that is Medina. That's sort of what you're expecting in this sort of entry level here. Armadale is the exact same thing. So we can see the houses all remain about the same. They're still selling, don't get me wrong. The Medina one is under offer. The Armadale ones are under offer, but it's more so, this is at the entry point. It's very important to engage a buyer's agent or find these houses off market so you can scoop these up, because we can see the appreciations there. It's just, can you get the house before everyone else? That's really the biggest factor. So let's close the entry level ones so we don't get confused. Also, one thing we didn't cover on Medina, which is why it's sort of a good starting suburb, is if we go onto REWA and we just grab the total growth rate, we're looking over a 10-year period of 7.8%. So it is fairly new. In the last 15 years it's been created, but we can see it's maintaining this growth rate across the sales, rentals, as we mentioned, not really important at this stage. And then we grab the trend rate. We can obviously see rentals. It's not really what we need for rentals. For sales, yes, we have appreciation. 258 it started at, now we're at 590 over a 10-year period. So good suburb to start with to get some equity, pull it out. Now the next suburb we are going to look at is 700s to 800s, 900s. We're looking at middle ring families, Osborne Park, Balcatta, Carlisle. These are usually larger blocks. A lot of this suburb is closer to the CBD, it's closer to amenities. It has the infrastructure, it has the work locations. However, a lot of them are units, which isn't really a bad thing. We just got to make sure the strata fees don't negatively impact it. But an example of what we're looking at here is we'll go Bentley. Now Bentley is questionable in a suburb, but the reason that I've just got Bentley up here is to show you that we have a lot of units in something like Bentley, and you can get houses for around the 800 to 900 mark. Now they're not pretty houses, however, Bentley is very, very close to a university, incredibly close, and Curtin has been growing, and the amount of students that are coming in is just getting better and better. So Bentley is a suburb right next to the university. What often happens in a suburb like Bentley and many others that are around the surrounding suburbs is these houses get sublet. So the 4 bedrooms, 1 bedroom will get rented out, and they're going for about $250 to $300 per week per bedroom. So this is on the opposite scale to what we're looking at for the appreciation. This is for rental income, right? So we're looking at 4 bedrooms. No doubt this will have a study, which you could probably convert as well. And we're looking at 900 to 1200 per week for rental income for something like this. So Bentley, it does work. The units do work, but it really depends on the situation of what you want the portfolio to do. We can see this is another house that's sort of very typical of renters for the universities. If we open up the map here, we can see Bentley runs across this road around here. And this little suburb is Bentley as well. And the university is right here. So they have, with suburbs like these, they have student accommodation. However, they cost an arm and a leg. They are huge. We're talking $600 a week for, a single bedroom or double bedroom where you shared with other people. So people often opt to just buy a bedroom or rent a bedroom around these suburbs. Now another one is on the other scale of non-universities. We're looking at something like Balcatta. So Balcatta has houses, actual houses, but it's also in that middle area where they have very large land. There is a mix of units for Balcatta on the cheaper end compared to houses that are on the bigger end, and it's not at that huge price point for the block of lands that they're on. So let's see if we can grab one. So this is sort of a unit, 2-story. Let's see if we can find an actual house around the 900s. They're online, but it's fairly difficult. So we can see 353. So this will be in a detached unit around here. We also have a mixture of older Balcatta, which are on huge blocks, and this sort of is the historic part of it. But these are the ones that are going up into the mills. Now, sorry, we're not in Balcatta, we're in Bayswater. Ignore everything I just said. I was just realizing. Now, Bayswater, when we look at the trends, is always a good trend. Where is our trends? So we have growth rate going up 5% over the last 5 years. So there's been an increased push to live near the city, and these are trending up over the 10% marks, and the sales are also very, very good. we jump on this one, we can see we have a very, very large one. This is due to the block sizes and the older houses being sold on here as well. And it's for a capital appreciation. So we're looking at houses more so. Bayswater and Balcatta. All right. Now the other one is Fremantle. 900 to 1 mil gets you in established middle ring, so lifestyle suburbs. These are often very family-driven homes, double income, kids, or whether you're trying to just buy over the mill that is iconic, we'll call it, in Perth. The solid suburbs that have constantly been growing, the ones that are very popular, and they're in just excellent locations. These are lifestyle suburbs. We're not talking the coast. There is obviously some around the coast, near the coast, but we're not talking beachfront property. We're talking, we have Bayswater we already looked at. Victoria Park is near the university. Again, they're for working people that are looking at working and also want the cultural scene. So Vic Park has a lot of cultural, a lot of restaurants, multicultural around that whole area. Canning Vale and everything else. So usually the renovated character homes, property only suburb, and then long term. Now the other thing we can look at is 1.2, so the lifestyle. So those very, very iconic. When you say tourism, Perth, you think of things like Fremantle, Mount Lawley, not so much, Subiaco, Claremont, Cottesloe for the beaches. And, if you look at things like we type in things to do in Perth, we have a lot of these. So things that are close to the quarry there, we have Kings Park, which is near Fremantle. We have tourist attractions, so the Fremantle markets, Fremantle again. So we use Fremantle in what we're looking at here. Cottesloe was in there as well. So once you hit over about the 1.2 all the way upwards to infinity, that's where we start getting these iconic suburbs in here. So we're looking Fremantle 1.2, Mount Lawley 1.5, Subiaco 1.6, and Cottesloe for about 2.79. Now, why are they the iconic, we'll call them? Now, Fremantle is down here. Cottesloe is up here. Cottesloe's here, sorry. Now, in terms of what there is around it, right, we are beachfront on here. So Cottesloe's here. We are close to the city, so 20-minute drive to the city here. We have university in Bentley here. We have Murdoch down here for another university. Up here, a bit further up, we have ECU, and then you have your main University of Western Australia in this section in here. So it's very central to everything. The airport's over here. Now, one thing that is we can look at with Fremantle, for example, is these places like Fremantle are very trendy, hip, for the new age, the new kids that I've surpassed that age bracket. These are quirky houses, and as the age demographic of Perth goes up, these sort of quirky suburbs, Mount Lawley is one of them, Subiaco is one of them, these sort of become in a high demand, and it's a very different way of thinking about these houses. So let's bring up one of them so you can see. It's a very different way to think about investing, but as our population growth goes up and the age goes up, obviously the people entering the market is this younger generation who want these quirky houses. So we often see pictures like these, right? We have little apartments, they have exposed brick, they have exposed flooring, exposed timber, and they are just the quirky houses, right? So we can go through, got apartments here, we can see quirky in the sense of just raised ceilings, modern finishes, modern flooring. Keep going through, we can see comparing these to all the rest of it. So as the age demographics go up, these sort of quirky, iconic suburbs also rise in price. And you can see these due to the exposure of the tourism market to these suburbs. You can see the trend prices for these just balloon up. So we have a lot of development happening in Fremantle at the moment. So land is obviously in demand and has shot up in the last year. There is a trend 780 here, so doubled in 10 years time. The rent, so this is one of those suburbs where the rent is also going up because people just want to move into these suburbs. 47 to 950, so another 100% increase, double increase here for rent. And then we can go to the growth rate and we can see it's just a solid suburb. That won't really change anytime soon. So that's sort of where we're at with the locations and what's actually happening in Perth. So entry level now is around just under the 650 mark for outer suburbs. Medina, it was a good example of that. And then we have sort of Bayswater for these around 850 mark. And there's a lot of competition between these two. So to get houses under this, you either need to be incredibly fast. There is 20, 30 people going to these home opens. We have people that are submitting offers without even looking at the property. These sort of ones, if you're an entry into buying or we're trying to do capital appreciation, it is incredibly important, and this is not a sales pitch, that you either go really fast or you hire someone to find off-market properties. This is why buyer's agents exist. This is why 50 to 60% of all their clients actually get off-market, is to beat people and to enter the market without having this competition. So if you're interested in that, the link is down below and we can chat further about it. But this is ideally the market where a lot of people are trying to get in, and it's where you see on the news the whole big, there's no houses in Perth. That's what these ones are. And then obviously the people coming in, interstate buyers, people that are doing larger investments with larger holdings, capitals, interstate, overseas buyers as well. They're buying into these family markets of 900 to 1.1. And then you have obviously the higher end, the wealthy, and the retirement people buying into these 1.2 for the iconic, for the facilities, the amenities around there, the infrastructure, and just everything like that. So that pretty much covers what is happening in Perth. It's going to be trending the same way in 2026. It's going to keep going up. It's very, very doubtful it's going to go down. There's just going to be more competition. Interest rates will continue the way it is. It's not going to have a huge effect because there's just so much demand on the market with new people flying in as well. So, we have a demand constantly going up and the supply just cannot keep up with it. So that's not really going to change. If you want to take me up on that offer and have a chat about how we can help, or chat further about best suburbs, then the link is in the description here. Otherwise, I hope you have found some value from this video, and I will see you shortly.